Mark Pryor, Dodger pitching coach since 2018, and back on the program. Been a while. How are you?
I'm doing well. It has been a while. Thanks for having me.
What is your job during a game as pitching coach?
Well, basically, obviously, I'm watching the game, and then, I'm tracking pitches, talking with the pitcher in between innings, talking with the catcher in between innings, talking and trying to figure out like what's working, what's not working. Do we have an idea of what they're trying to do from an offensive approach with our pitcher? And then maybe, starting to game plan, what's going on? What do we want to do the next time through? Like who's coming up? How do we want to attack them? Do we want to, do we kind of want to stay with the plan before the game? Do we want to, do something different and audible, change some things up? And so those are kind of a lot of the in-game conversations with your pitcher and with the catcher. And then as the game gets going on and say your starter starts getting towards the end, then the conversations with Doc start happening. We start kind of going over like how do we want to approach, the end of the game, the end of the starter's run. Do we need to get him out of the middle of an inning? If he finishes an inning, how do we set up our bullpen going forward? Hopefully we got the lead, and we've talked before the game. Myself, Doc, our bench coach, our bullpen coaches, who's available, who do we feel good about throwing? And so a lot of it's just an ongoing conversation as the game evolves and honestly what the game is telling us, what do we need in that moment, and just making sure that we're prepared to make decisions because it happens fast. Once your starter's out, it happens fast.
How much of your job is to be a therapist?
There's a good percentage of it. Some nights it's small, and then other nights I think it can be a lot. And you're just trying to, there's so much preparation that these guys do on a given day, and they're always getting their bodies ready. They're always studying and making sure they're prepared. But as you've covered sports, like there's no script once the game starts. Things happen. And it's getting guys to find a way to win ball games and find ways to get outs. And sometimes it's ugly. And when it's ugly, obviously guys, and as athletes, we're perfectionists. We want things to go the way that we envision them to go. And sometimes that doesn't happen. And we have to be okay with that at times. And you're just trying to get them to understand like the job, what was your job? Did you do your job? And then let's pick up the pieces and move forward the next day. And, a lot of this game is mental and emotional. These guys are really unbelievable elite athletes. But so much of it comes down to how can you maintain your emotions in the moment, and how can you just continue to try to execute pitches to get the other hitter out.
How many of your pitchers know your resume?
I want to say, given that their cell phones are always at hand, I want to say there's at least they've Googled me at some point. Certain key facts do come up where they are surprised.
What will come up first? What that they would bring up to you?
Usually it's the infamous game in 2003. That'll maybe be on in the clubhouse, and then all of a sudden they'll kind of put two and two together of, oh, you were the guy on the mound? You didn't, we didn't know that. So that's always the surprise one where you kind of are like, yep, that's me. That was 20 some years ago. So,
but what do you remember about that? When you bring up the Bartman game,
I don't bring it up. I don't bring it up. They see it on TV.
You brought up that they brought it up. So
right.
Now I can follow up by saying, when I say that game and you're on the mound and you see that foul ball going over, what do you think?
Just like, darn it, I wish we caught it. And the Marlins had a good team; they had a good run. So it's been so long ago that it was obviously a game. I still feel.
Do you really think you said "darn it"?
No, I didn't say "darn it." I used a lot of other words, but I don't. I think I pointed and said some things, and I mean, look, it comes up every day in the games. I mean, it came up in the Giants Padre game yesterday. It still happens, and look,
Yeah.
it's the beauty of baseball that all these things can, through the course of time of this game and how many games have been played, that plays like that still happen, and that's why it's great. It's played by humans. There's a lot of great things that happen. There's crazy plays that happen every night in the game, and so I think that's what makes people love the game, because every single night you show up, things happen that you don't expect, and then things that you think shouldn't happen because everybody's seen it happen before, and you shouldn't do it. It happens again. So it's the beauty of the game. It's what draws people to it. It's what people love about it, but it's also what can be maddening at times, depending on which side of the fan base you're on.
Talking to Mark Pryor, Dodgers pitching coach since 2018. Dodgers at the Rockies tonight at 8:40 Eastern. Who does Ohtani remind you of pitching-wise?
Well, nobody, because nobody hits as well as he does as a pitcher. Though I did see a stat the other day that Fergie Jenkins had, I think, 13 homers as a Cub. So I guess he had some good power numbers. But
just his pitching style. Who does
it's a little bit. It's got a little bit of Nolan in him. Like where he's just gonna, and I know I'm dating myself, but I grew up watching Nolan and at the tail end of his career. And like if he wants to just rear back and blow it by you, like he's going to do it. And I think we've seen that, where obviously he has a very good and a very nasty sweeper, but if he wants it, he's going to get 100 and he's going to throw it right past you. And I think the at bat he had an at bat in Kansas City. I think it was like his second or third outing, and he'd been kind of in the mid 90s, and all of a sudden, guy comes up and he's like, here you go, here's 300-mile-an-hour pitches. And so, we have a lot of guys who throw extremely hard in this league. And so the velocity is not nothing, or isn't as exciting and unexpected, I guess is a better way to say it, that it used to be. But all of a sudden, this dude just out of nowhere is 100, 101, 102. And so that reminds me of watching Nolan when I was a kid, where it was just like, all right, I know he knows I'm throwing a fastball, and here it is, and see what you can do with it. And that's pretty cool. I mean, it's still, as a coach, it's one thing, but it's really, really, as a fan, to watch him do what he does is pretty awesome.
How would you pitch to Ohtani?
Well, as a pitching coach, we tried unsuccessfully at times. I mean, look, I was a two-pitch pitcher, so it's trying to move my fastball around and throw my breaking ball and try to change the shape. And I try to go up and in and slow him down and away, and maybe just trying to use all four quadrants. I mean, when he's in a groove, there's no pitch that he can't cover. And I think that's what makes him special. You can throw it 100 miles an hour up and away, and he'll go backside, left field, homer, 20 rows deep. You can go down and in at 100. He'll pull a ball. He'll take off speed, with ass out, like he did the other day. Completely like lost his entire body, and he still hits it 105, and it gets over the fence. So you hope that you catch, if you're an opposing pitcher, you hope that you catch him when he swings a little bit off. But right now, it looks like he's starting to get his swing going again, and he's doing some pretty incredible things. And just the way he impacts the baseball, that's the crazy thing, is watching other big leaguers in the dugout marvel about how hard he hits the ball. And that's the thing that is just like jaw dropping. It's not that it's the power and the average. It's this guy's seems like he's averaging 110 off the bat every single time. And guys are like, big league guys are extremely like in awe watching how hard he hits the ball, even if it's an out. It's insane.
Yeah, I remarked or marveled at that a couple of years ago. If I'm just listening to guys hit, there are certain guys, when you hear them hit, that's different than everybody else. And he's one of those guys. Anybody else come to mind that when you hear that ball off the bat, you know who it is?
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of years ago, Ronald Acuna hit a ball. I forget, it was like either like 117 or 119 or something. He hit a ball at Dodger Stadium, and it just sounded like a shotgun. It was a homer to dead center, and he can impact the baseball extremely hard. Freddie, Freddie can move some balls forward all over the field, but when he impacts the baseball at times, it comes off really hot. I'm trying to think, Machado, Tatis, but Judge is another guy too. When he connects, Stanton, those guys they impact the baseball extremely hard. And I'm sure there was guys when I played who hit the ball just as hard as they did, but it sure doesn't. We didn't have the numbers to quantify it as much. But these guys, a lot of players nowadays are really impacting the baseball, and it's scary out there. You're only 60 feet away, so I mean, it's a little dangerous at times.
Can you see a scenario in the postseason where Ohtani comes in relief?
It's a good question, very fair question, and it's been discussed, and it's really understanding kind of the rules of him coming in as a reliever, and knowing that because of the rule, the way it's set up right now as a starter, he can come out of the game and still maintain as a DH. But he comes in as a reliever, you got to find that line of where hopefully the game ends, because you can't put him in the 6th and then take him out as a pitcher in the 7th and keep him in as a DH. So it would have to be a situation where we think the game's over and he's closing, or be okay with him not hitting anymore. So that would be really the only scenario. Can I see it? Absolutely. But it would probably be closer to the back end when the game's, kind of on the line, and it would be over after he's done.
Great to catch up with you again. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Anytime. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's Mark Pryor, Dodgers pitching coach and former All-Star with the Cubs. And, I forgot that Mark was on the mound when the Bartman play happened.
I didn't.